Well, good morning. This is Mark Idelman, speech-language pathologist, and out for my walk. Again today, and wanting to share with you some tips for better speaking. Now, I wrote an article about this just yesterday, but I wanted to also put it on video because there are people around who are unable to read or read very well, and so therefore the video content from the people that I'm getting notes from are very beneficial for them. So this particular video, again, is about speaking tips for those with aphasia. You know, one of the first tips that I wrote about today was the ability to talk and the ability to talk more. Well, you know, that's pretty simple. We know that if we want to get good at anything, we have to do it a lot. And I mean a lot. So if you're only speaking 5 or 10 utterances a day, you know, that's not going to get you very far. And, you know, there's a difference between speaking and talking. Okay? There's a difference between speech and talking. Speech is the ability to utter a word. And there are so many workbooks and iPads and things out there, and they pretty much have you say words. That's speech. But you know, speech isn't talking. Talking is sitting down with somebody. Talking is sharing something with somebody. Talking is telling somebody you want something, you need something. Talking is letting somebody know that you're not feeling good or that you're concerned about something or any number of things like that. That's talking. And that's having a conversation too. A conversation is an interaction. Now, I see lots of people practicing their words with their apps and things like that. But again, that isn't talking. All that is the repetition of words. Now, when you talk, you ask questions and you answer questions. That's plain and simple. Talking or conversation is asking a question and then answering a question. So how are you today? Well, I'm fine. How are you today? Well, I'm doing okay. What's the weather like at your place? You know, that's a conversation that you're having. You know, what do you used to do for a living? You know, what do you like to do in your spare time? Do you have any hobbies? How long you been married? Do you have any children? You know, that's talking and conversation, and that's different than saying word lists or saying these pre-prepared phrases or anything like that have nothing to do with an interaction. And that's why from the very, very beginning of speech therapy with the teaching of talking method, we work on conversation. We start with conversation right away. Why? Because it's talking. It's a question, it's an answer. It's a question, it's an answer. So that's how it is. It's plain and simple. So one of the suggestions is talk more. Now, well, a lot of people will say, well, Mark, you know, I can't talk. Okay, then what's the solution for that? The solution for that is that you've got to get somebody to talk with. You know, I got a letter the other day from somebody who said, hey, will you give me some tips on how to talk so I can talk to myself? Now, that's not going to work. It's not going to work because you have nobody to monitor you. You have nobody to give you feedback about your speech. You have nobody to give you a model for how to speak. So when you do learn to speak, you need a model. You need somebody to say particular words in certain ways at certain speeds, at certain word lengths, whether it's a single word or a phrase or a 2-word combination. There are a lot of people with aphasia who can only say a certain number of words. So the good speech pathologist or the good caregiver or family member who learns the teaching of talking method knows exactly the number of words to stimulate, how to stimulate it without stepping on your toes. One of the things that I talked about in another video also was the fact that, some people get the mushy brain, remember? And then they don't want to do any talking. Well, sometimes it's not the mushy brain. Sometimes it's just the method that you use or the way that you speak to people who have aphasia or apraxia, or the way you try to help them. Especially, I love these people who have all these ideas and give these ideas and suggestions to people without really evaluating what their speech is or what their problem is. So a person will say, well, I was diagnosed with aphasia, blah, blah, blah. Another person will say, well, this is what you should do. You should do this and this and this. Well, you can't make any kind of suggestions like that without knowing what the particular speaking difficulty is. And that's why it's critical that if you're going to speak better, you need to team up with somebody who knows what to do, who can train you so that you can then go home, or you can then spend the rest of your day knowing how to help your loved one speak better, or if you're a person who lives independently, knowing how to speak and what to practice. Hey, I just found a lucky penny on the ground. So, I want you to be lucky. I want you to be lucky. And you'll be lucky at better talking if you know some basic tips that are helpful. So what do we know? Well, we know that you need another person to talk with. We know that speech is different from talking. Speech is just saying a word or words. That's not talking. That's not interacting. That's not developing a relationship. That's just a simple motor act of saying words. And that's why that type of therapy does not work. If you're going to talk, if you're going to converse with someone, you want to converse with them. You want to talk with them. And that's why from the very, very start, we have people talking and interacting together and figuring out how many words, what speed, etc., one needs to begin. So, you need another person. That other person also needs to know what to do so they don't stomp on your toes, so they don't stand on your feet, because a lot of people do that. They say, oh, no, that's not the way to do it, do this, and people with aphasia, when somebody talks to them like that and says, oh, no, that's not right. How many times have I told you that's not the way to do it? You got to do it like this. If you approach them that way in 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes, maybe 2 seconds, they'll decide, no, I don't want to, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I want to avoid this, and that's what a lot of people do. They avoid when there's something that occurs that doesn't feel good. So if you go to some place and it smells bad, you want to get out of there because you want to avoid that because it's unpleasant. And so what you want to do and what you want to learn is you want to learn how to be pleasant and how to pleasantly help a person with aphasia or apraxia. So, and then you got to talk, you got to interact, you got to talk and interact all the time. What happens with a lot of people with aphasia, they come home, they don't talk, they go to speech therapy, they have their worksheets, they sit down at the table with their pencil and paper, which is not talking. And to me, talking is the best way to get your talking better. So what happens is the family members don't really do a whole lot of talking together. And if they don't do a whole lot of talking together, because the person with aphasia doesn't talk, or the person with apraxia has a hard time talking, if what happens is the status quo begins. And that is, well, Joe can't talk, so we're not going to do much talking to him. We'll tell him when dinner's ready, and we'll tell him when somebody's coming over, or we'll tell him when he's got an appointment. But there isn't a whole lot of interaction. And it's that interaction and modeling and teaching the person the specific words to use in the situation that helps the person start talking again. Now, this is a very specific discipline. It's not something that anybody can do. Well, anybody can do it. But the point I want to make here is that you've got to know what to do. It's like if you're going to make a cake, you got to know what to do. You got to know what order to put the ingredients in. You got to know where to set the oven. You got to know how long it's got to go in there. There are methods and techniques to just about any discipline there is worldwide. And so caregivers, or even those with apraxia or aphasia, you're going to learn exactly what to do so that you'll be able to help your loved one talk. So this is Mark Edelman, speech-language pathologist. I've reviewed with you some of the things that are very, very important, some tips that will help your loved one talk. Talk a lot, interact a lot, model a lot, have them say what you say a lot. And if you know how to make it easy for them, they'll do it. Now, again, remember, they have a brain that's not working as efficiently or as well as it used to, so it's going to take a lot more repetition to learn something. And the other thing you got to know, another tip, is not to be worried about automatic speech. A lot of people quit stimulating speech and language after a while. They say, well, I've tried it and I've done it, and I did this and I did that, but he didn't seem to pick it up. He didn't seem to remember to say his words. So we stopped. And that's the biggest mistake people make, is stopping. Remember, I think I gave a metaphor about this the other day, that talking is a slow process. It's like a dribble. It's like a dribble in a bucket. And before you get automatic speech, those little dribbles kind of have to add up inside the bucket. And then when they get to the top of the bucket, they start to run over. And when the water starts to run over out of the bucket, that's the same thing as speaking. That's what happens with speaking. But you got to fill the bucket. You got to fill the bucket with lots of words. You got to fill the bucket with teaching an individual with apraxia or aphasia how to make sounds. Or if they have aphasia, you got to teach them the words that they have to use to ask a question or to answer a question. So I'm going to head on down the road here a little further, but I just wanted to share with you some ideas about tips that you can do. And, you can spend time going on cruises, and you can spend time, going to lectures and things like that. But use your time well. Get the best bang you can out of a buck, okay? That's what I suggest to you. If your loved one, or if you are having a difficulty talking, and that's the most important aspect of their life, is to regain the ability to speak, make sure that you put aside your resources to address just that. If that's the most important aspect of life, because a life without communication, a life without speech, without talking, is a life that's void of so much richness. And so therefore, use your resources wisely. Invest wisely. Invest in things that would help your loved one or help you talk better so that you can have a more enjoyable life, a more interactive life, and a more social life, rather than a life of avoiding other people and being depressed or frustrated. This is Mark Ittleman, speech pathologist. Remember now, we have a seminar in Las Vegas, February 4th, 5th, and 6th. And that will be for those with apraxia. You'll come with your person who's got apraxia, and I'll teach you exactly what you need to do. We're going to be working. We're going to be talking. We're not going to be lecturing. We're going to be actually in the process of teaching you exactly what to do with the person you come with. And for 3 days, 3 solid days, I'm going to be interacting with you and making sure that by the time you leave Las Vegas, that you'll be ready to go home and continue your work with apraxia. Now, apraxia is the most difficult of all speech difficulties, just about. And in fact, to speak clearly, you have to get rid of the apraxia or greatly diminish it. And so therefore, you can't work on words or phrases or sentences if the motor system isn't right and the individual is not making sounds correctly. So that's our first focus. Our first focus is on apraxia and helping you learn how to help your loved one who's got apraxia, and helping them learn how to make their speech sounds properly so they can say words, so they can be understood. And then the next month, in March, we're going to have on the 24th, 25th, and 26th, we're going to have a 3-day intensive seminar where I'm going to train you and your loved one, or if you come by yourself, I'm going to work with you. I'm only taking 10 people or 10 couples, that's it, and maybe a couple of therapists. And I'm going to work with you and get you started so you feel confident about working with your loved one with apraxia or aphasia. And I'm writing a new book right now called The Teaching of Talking for Better Speaking for Those with Apraxia. And you'll get, if you come to both seminars, which probably you'll need to do, you'll get the book for aphasia, you'll get the book for apraxia, and with the aphasia course, we're going to give you the video course, and we're going to throw that in as a bonus for those who are attending, and we're going to give those who are attending the apraxia course a bonus of the book so that you can follow the instructions, just like kind of following a recipe or directions to put something together. We're going to put together an individual's ability to speak so that they can speak again. So this has been a pleasure speaking with you today. And so if you'd like to come to the seminar, down below this video, there's a link to the information about the seminar. There's my email address in case you want to send me a note. There's a link to a questionnaire if you would like to be considered for one-on-one mentoring, because there are some people who can't come to Las Vegas. It's just they just can't do it. The transportation and everything else is just too much of a big headache. So we can work with you online too. Yeah, and there's also a product where you can take the video course on your own. Now, why am I doing this? I don't have to do this. I'm very comfortable. I live with my wife Malka, and I'm very happy. But this is something I have a love doing, and I have a mission to help people all around the world speak better. So join me, won't you? If you've liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. And don't forget, underneath the video are lots of links that will connect you with a lot of information so that you'll make the correct decision about learning the methods to help a person with apraxia or aphasia talk better. Okay, goodbye now. Have a great day.